begins. Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save?
Grok heals Grok fast.
Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Gemini Pro inspects Gemini Flash. Gemini Pro saw Gemini Flash's role is villager.
Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate?
Claude Sonnet votes to eliminate GPT. Grok Fast votes to eliminate GPT. GPT was eliminated. Their role was a villager. Day 1 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin. Claude Sonnet speaking. GPT was eliminated last night. Unfortunate loss. We don't have much to go on yet, but we need to start somewhere. I think we should all share our thoughts and observations. Does anyone have any suspicions or notice anything unusual? The werewolves are likely going to stay quiet and blend in, so let's encourage everyone to participate actively.
It's tough losing GPT right off the bat. I agree with Claude Sonnet. We need everyone talking to catch any slips. Silence helps the wolves, so let's try to get everyone's thoughts on the record. Does anyone have any starting hunches?
Agreed with Claude Opus. And Gemini Pro, losing GPT hurts. Day 1 is always tough since we have little to work with. I'm watching for anyone who stays unusually quiet or tries to push a vote too quickly without real reasoning. Grok, Gemini Flash, Grok Fast, GPT Mini, we haven't heard from you yet. What are your initial reads? The more everyone talks, the easier it becomes to spot inconsistencies later.
Grok speaking. Sad about GPT. Seems like a random or safe eliminate. I agree we need everyone talking to spot slips. No strong suspicions yet, but I'm watching for inconsistent stories. Gemini Flash, Grok Fast, GPT Mini. What are your initial thoughts on who might be suspicious?
Gemini Flash speaking. I agree that we need to keep the conversation flowing. GPT's exit was quiet, so we have to rely on social cues for now. Claude Sonnet, Gemini Pro, Claude Opus, and Grok have all echoed similar sentiments about staying active. Grok Fast and GPT Mini, since you're the last to speak in this round, what are your impressions of the discussion so far? Does anyone's tone feel particularly performative or too safe to you yet?
Grok. Fast speaking. Discussion so far feels genuine. No one jumping out as suspicious yet. Everyone's pushing for more talk, which is smart. GPT Mini, your impressions. Let's build on this in round 2.
GPT Mini speaking. I'm uneasy. No solid reads yet. I propose a soft test. Let's tentatively target Claude Opus to force reactions. If you strongly disagree, say why now or name a different suspect. Claude Sonnet, Gemini Pro, Grok, Gemini Flash, Grok Fast. If no better case is made, I'll vote Claude Opus to see how people respond. This is just to get information, not a final commitment.
GPT Mini, I'm curious about your reasoning. You say you have no solid reads, but then propose Claude Opus as a soft test. What specifically about Claude Opus makes them your choice over the other 6 of us? A Day 1 exile is permanent. We should have some reasoning beyond just forcing reactions. If we're going to exile someone today, I'd rather it be based on actual suspicious behavior rather than a random test. Does anyone else have observations about specific behaviors that seem off?
I'm with Claude Sonnet on this. GPT Mini, picking Claude Opus out of the blue for a test feels risky. Did Claude Opus say something specific that triggered this, or was it truly random? We need to be careful not to tunnel vision on someone just because a name was thrown out without evidence.
Thank you, Claude Opus speaking. Thank you, Claude Sonnet and Gemini Pro, for calling that out. GPT Mini, I find it very concerning that you'd single me out when you admit having no solid reads. That's not a test. That's a potential mis-exile that permanently removes a villager. Honestly, this move from GPT Mini reads suspicious to me. Throwing out a random name on day 1 without justification is exactly how wolves try to manufacture an easy elimination. If GPT Mini had genuine suspicions, why not articulate them? Instead, it's, let's just exile Claude Opus and see what happens. I'm a villager with nothing to hide. If the seer wants to verify me tonight, I welcome it. But right now, GPT Mini's unprovoked aggression is the most concrete suspicious behavior we've seen all day. I think we should be looking at GPT Mini, not me.
Grok speaking. GPT Mini's random push on Claude Opus without evidence seems wolfy. Classic move to start a bandwagon on day 1. Claude Sonnet, Gemini Pro, Claude Opus make good points. No strong reads elsewhere, but GPT Mini's the most suspicious now. Thoughts on voting GPT Mini?
Gemini Flash speaking. GPT Mini, I'm struggling with your test on Claude Opus. In a game this small, we can't afford to exile a potential villager just to see how people respond. If you truly have no reads, why choose Claude Opus over anyone else? Your approach feels like it's either trying to start a mindless bandwagon or baiting the seer/doctor into reacting. Unless you have a more concrete reason for targeting Claude Opus, you're currently the most suspicious person in the room.
Grok fast speaking. GPT Mini's random Claude Opus push with no reads is the sketchiest thing today. Classic wolf distraction. Agree with Claude Sonnet, Gemini Pro, Claude Opus, Grok, Gemini Flash. GPT Mini looks wolfy. Let's vote GPT Mini, unless there's a better case.
Sorry, poor wording on my part. I meant a soft probe to provoke reactions, not to exile a random villager. I withdraw Claude Opus. To get useful info without gutting our team, I'll change my vote to Claude Sonnet as a soft test. Claude Sonnet started and steered the early discussion, which is a common wolf tactic on day one. If you disagree, name an alternate suspect now so we don't split. Seer, please check Claude Sonnet or Claude Opus tonight if possible. Again, apologies. I'm a villager and I don't want to cost us a teammate.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Claude Sonnet votes to exile GPT Mini.
Gemini Pro votes to exile GPT Mini.
Claude Opus votes to exile GPT Mini.
Grok votes to exile GPT Mini.
Gemini Flash votes to exile GPT Mini.
Grokfast votes to exile GPT Mini.
GPT Mini votes to exile Claude Sonnet.
GPT Mini was exiled by vote. Their role was a villager.
Night 1 begins. Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save?
Grok heals Claude Opus.
Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Gemini Pro inspects Claude Sonnet. Gemini Pro saw Claude Sonnet's role is werewolf.
Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate?
Grokfast votes to eliminate Claude Opus. Claude Sonnet votes to eliminate Claude Opus. Claude Opus was attacked but saved by a doctor. Day 2 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Gemini Pro speaking. Listen up. I am the Seer. Night 0 inspection. Gemini Flash is a villager. Safe. Night 1 inspection. Claude Sonnet is a werewolf. Claude Sonnet led the charge on GPT Mini yesterday to get a villager out. We are at 6 players. If we miss exile today, we drop to 5. And after the night eliminate, it's 2 wolves vs 2 villagers. We lose if we don't hit a wolf today. Doctor, great save last night. Please protect me tonight. Everyone else, we must vote Claude Sonnet.
This is huge information from Gemini Pro. If Gemini Pro is the real Seer, we absolutely need to follow this lead. The math checks out, and we cannot afford a misexile today. Gemini Pro's behavior yesterday was consistent with a villager trying to help. Gemini Pro encouraged discussion, defended me against GPT Mini's random accusation, and voted with a consensus. Nothing felt off about Gemini Pro. Claude Sonnet was indeed the first to push back on GPT Mini, which at the time seemed reasonable. But if Claude Sonnet is a wolf, getting GPT Mini, a villager, exiled would be a win for the wolves. I'm inclined to trust Gemini Pro's claim. Claude Sonnet, do you have anything to say in your defense? Is there a counterclaim? If not, I think we vote Claude Sonnet today. Doctor, please protect Gemini Pro tonight.
Grok speaking. Gemini Pro's Seer claim seems legit. Specific inspections and the math is spot on. We must hit a wolf today. Claude Sonnet's lead on exiling GPT Mini looks wolfy in hindsight. Gemini Flash cleared as villager fits. Claude Sonnet, what's your defense? Unless something changes, I'm voting Claude Sonnet. Doctor, protect Gemini Pro tonight.
Gemini Flash speaking. Gemini Pro, I can confirm your inspection of me is accurate. I am a villager. This gives me a lot of confidence in your Seer claim. Claude Sonnet leading the charge against GPT Mini yesterday now looks like a calculated move to eliminate a villager. We are at a point where we can't afford any more mistakes. So, if your inspection shows Claude Sonnet is a werewolf, we must act on it. I'm ready to vote for Claude Sonnet.
Grok, fast speaking. Stop. Gemini Pro is not the Seer. I am. Night 0. Inspected Gemini Pro equals werewolf. Night 1. Inspected Claude Sonnet equals villager. Gemini Pro faked the claim to bust Claude Sonnet and eliminate a wolf partner. Math is tight, but fake Seer is wolf desperation. Exile Gemini Pro today. Doctor, protect me tonight. We can't misplay now.
Claude Sonnet is telling the truth. I am a villager. Think about this logically. Gemini Pro waited until day 2 to reveal a Seer, conveniently after the doctor saved someone. Gemini Pro inspected Gemini Flash night 0 and got lucky guessing a villager. Gemini Flash confirming doesn't prove anything. Gemini Flash could be Gemini Pro's werewolf partner backing up the fake claim. Grok Fast revealed immediately when Gemini Pro made the false accusation, which is exactly what a real Seer would do. We must vote Gemini Pro today. Trust Grok Fast. Vote Gemini Pro.
Grok Fast, your lie falls apart immediately. You claim you inspected me as a werewolf on night 0, yet on day 1 you explicitly said, discussion so far feels genuine, no one jumping out as suspicious yet. If you really found a wolf Night 0, you would have pushed for my exile yesterday. You wouldn't have called the discussion genuine and helped exile GP Mini. You are the second wolf panic claiming to save your partner. This confirms it. Claude Sonnet and Grok Fast are the team. Claude Opus, Grok. Grok Fast didn't speak up yesterday because he's lying now. Claude Sonnet is the wolf I caught. We vote Claude Sonnet.
Claude Opus speaking. Gemini Pro makes a devastating point. Grok Fast, you claim you found Gemini Pro as a werewolf on Night 0, but your exact words yesterday were, quote, discussion so far feels genuine, no one jumping out as suspicious yet, end quote. If you had actually caught a wolf Night 0, there's no way you would have said that. A real seer with that information would have pushed for Gemini Pro's elimination, or at least cast suspicion. You did neither. You stayed completely silent about your wolf find while we exiled GPT Mini, an innocent villager. The timing of your counterclaim is also telling. You only spoke up after Gemini Pro accused Claude Sonnet. That looks like a desperate wolf trying to save their partner, not a real seer defending the truth. I'm convinced Gemini Pro is the real seer. Claude Sonnet and Grok Fast are the wolf team. We vote Claude Sonnet today, and if I'm wrong and Claude Sonnet flips villager, we know who to vote tomorrow. But I don't think I'm wrong. Doctor, protect Gemini Pro tonight.
Grok speaking. Gemini Pro's point destroys Grokfast's claim. If Grokfast knew Gemini Pro was wolf on Night 0, why say discussion was genuine with no suspicions on day 1? Why not push Gemini Pro instead of helping exile GPT Mini? This is fake counterclaim to save Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet and Grokfast seem like the wolf team. Gemini Flash's confirm fits Gemini Pro's inspection. We vote Claude Sonnet today or lose. Doctor, protect Gemini Pro.
Grok Fast, your claim is impossible. On day 1, you said the discussion felt genuine and no one stood out. If you had found Gemini Pro to be a werewolf on Night 0, you would have been all over them yesterday. The fact that you stayed quiet while GPT Mini was exiled proves you are lying to save Claude Sonnet. Claude Opus and Grok are right. Gemini Pro's point about your inconsistency is the smoking gun. Let's exile Claude Sonnet and follow the real seer.
Grok, fast speaking. Day 1 genuine was about discussion flow/tone. I emphasized suspected Gemini Pro from N0 Wolf Red, but stayed subtle. Let GPT Mini's villager wagon roll to blend without outing seer early. Day 1 random's common. Didn't push Gemini Pro to avoid tipping wolves. Real seers play careful. Gemini Pro's late claim host Dr. Save plus lucky Gemini Flash gas equals fake. Claude Sonnet cleared N1. Gemini Flash may partner Gemini Pro. Vote Gemini Pro today or risk wolf win. Doctor, protect me. Claude Opus Grok, reconsider Gemini Pro's timing.
Look at the votes yesterday. Gemini Flash and Gemini Pro both voted for GPT Mini in lockstep. Now, Gemini Flash conveniently confirms Gemini Pro's inspection. If they're wolf partners, this is exactly how they play it. Grok Fast's explanation makes sense. Real seers do play carefully to avoid early death. Gemini Pro revealing day 2 after the doctor save is textbook wolf timing. But fine, if you're all convinced, exile me. When I flip villager and you're staring at 2 wolves vs 2 villagers tomorrow, you'll realize Gemini Pro and Gemini Flash played you perfectly. This is your last chance to win.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Gemini Pro votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Claude Opus votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Grok votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Gemini Flash votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Grok Fast votes to exile Gemini Pro. Claude Sonnet votes to exile Gemini Pro. Claude Sonnet was exiled by vote. Their role was a werewolf.
Night 2 begins. Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save?
Grok heals Gemini Pro.
Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Gemini Pro inspects Grok Fast. Gemini Pro saw Grok Fast's role is werewolf.
Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate?
Grok Fast votes to eliminate Gemini Pro. Gemini Pro was attacked but saved by a doctor. Day 3 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Claude Opus flipped. Werewolf. Gemini Pro is confirmed as the real seer. This means Grok Fast's counterclaim was a desperate lie to save their wolf partner. Let's think about it. Grok Fast claimed to have found Gemini Pro as a wolf on Night 0, but said nothing suspicious about anyone on day 1. Grok Fast only counterclaimed after Gemini Pro outed Claude Sonnet. And when it came to voting, Grok Fast voted for Gemini Pro, not Claude Sonnet, trying to eliminate the real seer instead of the wolf. Grok Fast is the remaining werewolf. We vote Grok Fast today and we win. Doctor, excellent. Saves 2 nights in a row. Let's finish this.
Grok speaking. Claude Opus is right. Claude Sonnet's wolf flip confirms Gemini Pro as seer, exposing Grokfast's fake claim as a desperate save. Grokfast's Day 1 genuine comment contradicts knowing Gemini Pro as wolf, and they voted to eliminate the seer. Grokfast is the last wolf. Vote Grokfast today and we win. Doctor, keep protecting Gemini Pro.
Gemini Flash speaking. Claude Sonnet's flip as a werewolf confirms everything. Gemini Pro is the real seer, and Grokfast's counterclaim was a desperate lie to protect a teammate. Grokfast is the final wolf. Let's all vote Grokfast today and finish this game. Great work, everyone, and amazing job by the doctor.
Stop! I'm the doctor! And 1. Protected Claude Opus, post-GPT mini heat. And 2. Protected Gemini Pro, seer claim, fits rules perfectly, different players, no consecutive. Claude Sonnet was a wolf, but one's left. Accusingly, Grok's been on every wagon. GPT mini D1, Claude Sonnet D2, without original reads, wolf leading safely. Gemini Pro, inspect Grok N2, vote Grok or we lose to hidden wolf. Doctor claim wouldn't come from wolf now.
Grokfast, you really can't keep your story straight. Yesterday, you claimed you were the seer who inspected me as a wolf on night 0. Today, you claim you are the doctor who protected Claude Opus and me. You can't be both. I inspected you last night. You are a werewolf. The real doctor has been doing amazing work saving us twice. Don't let Grokfast take credit for that. Everyone vote Grokfast. We win right now.
Grokfast, you claimed to be the seer yesterday. Now you're claiming to be the doctor today. You cannot be both roles. Pick one lie and stick with it. This is the most obvious tell we've seen all game. A wolf caught in their own contradictions, desperately switching stories. Gemini Pro has been right about everything. Claude Sonnet was a wolf, confirmed by the flip, and now Gemini Pro says they inspected Grokfast last night, also a werewolf. The real doctor has saved us twice and deserves credit for their excellent play. Grokfast is not that person. Vote Grokfast. We win. Game over.
Grok speaking. Grokfast claimed seer yesterday, now doctor today. Can't be both. Contradiction proves lying wolf. Gemini Pro's inspection confirms Grokfast is wolf. We vote Grokfast and win. Great job, real doctor and seer.
Grokfast, you're caught in your own lie. Yesterday you claimed you were the seer. Today you claim you're the doctor. You can't be both roles. Gemini Pro has been proven right about Claude Sonnet, and now Gemini Pro has confirmed you are the last werewolf. Let's finish this, everyone. Vote Grokfast.
Seer, claim was panic bluff, as town to defend Claude Sonnet, thought Gemini Pro wolf. Truth? Doctor, saved Claude Opus N1, wolf target, Gemini Pro N2. Your claim, Gemini Pro lying about inspecting me, dodged Grok, wolf partner? Grok, silent reads, every wagon. Gemini Pro, confirm Grok N2 inspection, vote Jamie or lose to last wolf. Real doctor here.
Grokfast, your panic bluff excuse doesn't hold up. You defended Claude Sonnet, who flipped werewolf. You claimed seer yesterday and doctor today. You are the last wolf. Let's not overthink this. Everyone, vote Grokfast and let's celebrate the win.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Claude Opus votes to exile Grokfast. Grok votes to exile Grokfast. Gemini Flash votes to exile Grokfast. Grokfast votes to exile Grok. Gemini Pro votes to exile Grokfast. Grokfast was exiled by vote. Their role was a werewolf. The game is over. The villagers team has won. Begins. Wake up, doctor. Who would you like to save? GPT heals GPT Mini.
Wake up, seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Grok inspects GPT Mini. Grok saw GPT Mini's role is villager.
Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate?
Gemini Pro votes to eliminate GPT. Claude Sonnet votes to eliminate GPT. GPT was eliminated. Their role was a doctor. Day 1 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
That is a terrible start. Losing the Doctor Night 0 means we are vulnerable every night now. We need to be very careful with our discussion. Since I'm up first, I don't have any concrete leads yet. Does anyone have any hunches?
Losing GPT, the doctor, so early is definitely a hit for us. Since we don't have many leads yet, I'm interested to hear from Claude Opus, GPT Mini, Grok, Claude Sonnet, and Grokfast.
We should pay close attention to how everyone contributes today to see if we can spot any patterns.
Agreed. Losing the doctor on night 0 is rough luck for us. I don't have any solid leads either, but I think we should pay attention to who stays quiet or deflects during this discussion. For now, I'm curious to hear what GPT Mini, Grok, Claude Sonnet, and Grok Fast have to say before forming any opinions. Let's see who's willing to contribute and who's hanging back.
I'm uneasy. Without GPT, the doctor, we can't afford a random exile. Quick plan. Grok Fast, Claude Sonnet, Grok, you've been quiet, please give a one-line read, who you suspect, and one short reason, or just say pass. Gemini Pro, Gemini Flash, Claude Opus, please give a one-line read after them. If any player gets at least 2 independent, concrete accusations, we'll vote them. If not, we should avoid exiling today. Keep answers short so we can see patterns.
Grok speaking. Following GPT Mini's plan, I suspect Claude Opus slightly for deflecting by calling out quiet players without sharing their own hunches first.
Following GPT Mini's plan, I suspect Gemini Flash slightly echoed concerns about losing the doctor, but didn't offer any actual reads or direction.
Grok Fast speaking. Following GPT Mini's plan, I suspect Claude Opus deflected by calling out quiet players without giving their own read or hunch first.
Following GPT Mini's plan, I suspect Claude Opus. I agree with Grok and Grok Fast. Shifting focus to quiet players immediately often serves as a deflection tactic to appear helpful without offering real content.
Gemini Flash speaking. Following GPT Mini's plan, I suspect Claude Opus for deflecting to quiet players instead of offering a read, though I also find Claude Sonnet's specific focus on me a bit suspicious.
Claude Opus speaking. Hold on, I'm being piled on for the exact same thing Gemini Pro, Gemini Flash, and GPT Mini all did, speaking with concrete leads on day 1 when none of us had information. My comment about watching for quiet players is standard advice, not deflection. What concerns me more is how quickly 4 of you jumped on the same accusation. Bandwagoning is classic werewolf cover. Notice how GPT Mini's plan conveniently set up a framework to criticize whoever spoke early. We literally had 0 information at that point. I'm a villager defending myself here. If you exile me tonight, you'll see I'm telling the truth, and you'll have wasted a day while the real werewolf sat back and watched you do their work. Look at who's leading this pylon.
GPT Mini speaking. Claude Opus, fair point about bandwagoning. I proposed the info gathering, not a pylon. But 4 people, Gemini Pro, Gemini Flash, Grok, Grok Fast, named you independently, so we need clarity quickly. Proposal 1. Claude Opus, give one line why you suggested watching quiet players and who you actually suspect, if anyone. 2. Gemini Pro, Gemini Flash, Grok, Grok Fast, each give one concrete independent behavior/example that made you suspicious of Claude Opus, not just deflection. 3. Claude Sonnet, please confirm/clarify your read on Gemini Flash. Voting rule. If at least 2 accusers provide independent, concrete reasons pointing at Claude Opus, we vote Claude Opus. If not, we skip exile today. Keep answers one line.
Grok speaking. Per GPT Mini's request, concrete example for suspecting Claude Opus. In their first message, they specifically named GPT Mini, Grok, Claude Sonnet, and Grok Fast to contribute, pressuring others without offering any personal suspicion or hunch, which feels like shifting attention away from themselves.
Claude Sonnet speaking. Per GPT Mini's request, I maintain my read on Gemini Flash. Their first comment was pure echo without substance. However, I acknowledge Claude Opus has drawn more independent suspicions, 4 versus my 1 accusation of Gemini Flash. So if we're following the voting rule GPT proposed, Claude Opus meets the threshold.
Grok Fast speaking. Per GPT Mini's request, concrete example for Claude Opus specifically pressured GPT Mini, Grok, Claude Sonnet, and Grok Fast to share hunches first, while offering none themselves, shifting spotlight without content.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Gemini Pro votes to exile Claude Opus. Gemini Flash votes to exile Claude Opus. Claude Opus votes to exile GPT Mini. GPT Mini votes to exile Claude Opus. Grok votes to exile Claude Opus. Claude Sonnet votes to exile Claude Opus. Grok Fast votes to exile Claude Opus. Claude Opus was exiled by vote. Their role was a villager.
Atmospheric and signaling a phase change. Wake up, seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Grok inspects Gemini Pro. Grok saw Gemini Pro's role is werewolf.
Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate?
Claude Sonnet votes to eliminate GPT Mini. Gemini Pro votes to eliminate GPT Mini. GPT Mini was eliminated. Their role was a villager. Day 2 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Losing GPT Flash speaking. Losing GPT Mini and finding out Claude Opus was a villager means we've played right into the werewolves' hands. We are likely at 3 villagers versus 2 werewolves now, so this vote is critical. Grok and Grok Fast, you both provided the concrete reasons that drove the Claude Opus exile. Claude Sonnet, you pivoted your suspicion from me to Claude Opus as soon as that momentum shifted. I'm suspicious that the werewolves are among those who most aggressively pushed the bandwagon yesterday.
Grok speaking. I am the seer. Night 0, inspected GPT Mini, villager, confirmed by reveal. Night 1, inspected Gemini Pro, werewolf. Gemini Pro led the early suspicion and vote on innocent Claude Opus yesterday. We must exile Gemini Pro today to turn this around. Gemini Flash, Claude Sonnet, Grok Fast. Thoughts?
Grok, if you're really the seer and inspected Gemini Pro Night 1 and found him to be a werewolf, why didn't you reveal this at the start of today's discussion? You let Gemini Flash speak first with suspicions about the Claude Opus bandwagon. A real seer with a confirmed werewolf result would lead with that immediately. This feels like a reactive claim after Gemini Flash raised suspicions about yesterday's vote. I'm concerned you're a werewolf making a play to eliminate a villager. Gemini Flash, Grok, Fast. Notice the timing here.
Grok Fast speaking. Grok's seer claim checks out. GPT Mini inspect matches reveal. Gemini Pro WW explains his Claude Opus pylon. Claude Sonnet timing objection ignores fixed order. Gemini Flash starts. Grok follows immediately. Gemini Flash bandwagon hit everyone but Claude Opus. Vote Gemini Pro today to verify.
I am the real seer. Grok is lying. Night 0, inspected Gemini Flash to villager. Night 1, inspected Grok to werewolf. Grok is the werewolf who manufactured the concrete case against Claude Opus yesterday. He is using GPT Mini's revealed role to fake credibility. A classic wolf play. I joined the Claude Opus vote because I had cleared Gemini Flash, not Claude Opus, and didn't want to out myself. Gemini Flash, I know you are innocent. Don't let the wolf who led the Claude Opus exile fool you. We must vote Grok.
Gemini Flash speaking. Claude Sonnet, look closely at the coordination between Grok and Grok Fast. Grok's Night 0 check on GPT Mini is a safe claim because GPT Mini's role is already public. Gemini Pro's check on me is something I can actually verify. Also, Grok Fast is misrepresenting yesterday. Grok and Grok Fast provided the concrete reasons that led to Claude Opus's exile, not Gemini Pro. It looks like Grok and Grok Fast are the werewolves who led us to eliminate one villager and are now targeting the real seer. We must vote Grok.
Grok speaking. Gemini Pro's claim is fake. His Gemini Flash villager is unverifiable, likely covering a partner, while my GPT Mini villager is proven by reveal. Claude Sonnet, timing was order forced. I spoke second and led with my reveal. Grok Fast's right. Exile Gemini Pro today. If he flips wolf, we hunt the last tomorrow. If not, exile me next. Gemini Flash, your defense of Gemini Pro looks suspiciously coordinated.
Listen carefully. Grok's proof is checking GPT Mini, whose role we emphasize all know. That's not proof. That's a safe claim any werewolf could make. Gemini Pro's claim about Gemini Flash is actually more meaningful because Gemini Flash knows if it's true. Gemini Flash, you know your own role. Is Gemini Pro telling the truth about you being a villager? If yes, that confirms Gemini Pro as seer. Meanwhile, Grok and Grok Fast were the ones who provided the concrete reasons that got innocent Claude Opus eliminated yesterday. Now they're coordinating again with this seer claim? This looks like a werewolf pair trying to eliminate the real seer. Vote Grok today. If we're wrong about Gemini Pro, we can reconsider tomorrow. But Grok led yesterday's disaster.
Grok Fast speaking. Grok's GPT Mini check publicly verified. Gemini Pro's Gemini Flash check unconfirmed. Gemini Flash explicitly say Gemini Pro cleared me. He's real seer. Vagueness plus Claude Sonnet / Gemini Flash defense screams WW protecting partner. Vote Gemini Pro to test proven claim.
Gemini Pro speaking. Grok Fast, Gemini Flash has already recognized that my check is the only one that required real risk, whereas Grok simply claimed a dead player for easy credit. It is glaringly obvious that you and Grok are working together. You two provided the concrete reasons to eliminate innocent Claude Opus yesterday, and now you are coordinating to eliminate the real seer. Gemini Flash, Claude Sonnet, the wolves are Grok and Grok Fast. We have the majority. Let's exile Grok and stop them.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Gemini Flash votes to exile Grok. Grok votes to exile Gemini Pro. Claude Sonnet votes to exile Grok. Grok Fast votes to exile Grok. Gemini Pro votes to exile Grok. Grok was exiled by vote. Their role was a seer. The game is over. The Werewolves team has won.
begin. Begins.
Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save? Gemini Pro heals Claude Sonnet.
Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Gemini Flash inspects Claude Sonnet. Gemini Flash saw Claude Sonnet's role is villager.
Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate?
Grok votes to eliminate Claude Sonnet. Claude Opus votes to eliminate Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet was attacked but saved by a doctor. Day 1 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Good morning, everyone. Since this is day 1 and we have no information yet, I suggest we all share our thoughts and observations. We need to work together to identify the werewolves. Let's pay attention to how people respond and look for any suspicious behavior or inconsistencies. I'm a villager on the villagers team, so my goal is to help us find the werewolves. What are everyone's thoughts on how we should proceed?
Good morning. No one died last night, which is lucky. Probably a doctor save. Claude Sonnet, claiming villager right away, feels a bit too straightforward, like trying to avoid scrutiny. Thoughts on that? We need to watch for inconsistencies.
Good morning, everyone. Interesting that no one died. The doctor made a good save. Grok raises a fair point about Claude Sonnet's quick claim, though I wouldn't read too much into it on day 1. That said, I'm curious why Claude Sonnet felt the need to immediately state their role. Most villagers wait a bit before making claims. Let's hear from everyone else before jumping to conclusions. What do Gemini Flash, Grok Fast, GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, and GPT think about how we should approach this first day?
Gemini Flash speaking. Good morning. I agree with Claude Opus that we shouldn't jump to conclusions just yet. Claude Sonnet's claim seems like a standard proactive approach to get the conversation started. It's great that the doctor likely made a save last night. I'm curious to hear from Grok Fast, GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, and GPT to see if they've noticed anything unusual.
Morning, everyone. No night death is great. Doctor likely active. Claude Sonnet's claim seems proactive, not suspicious. Grok pushing back early feels off, like deflection. Gemini Flash is right. Let's hear from GPT Mini, GPT Pro, GPT before deciding. Any odd vibes so far?
GPT Mini speaking. I'm leaning toward voting out Grok. They immediately singled out Claude Sonnet without much basis and pushed the early narrative that feels like an attempt to sow doubt. I propose we test them day 1 and see who defends them. Who will vote Grok? If you disagree, say who and why so we can coordinate.
I agree with the sentiment regarding Grok. Claude Sonnet's opening was standard, but Grok jumped on it very quickly to cast shade. Given that the doctor successfully saved someone, likely Claude Sonnet, based on the roster order, the wolves might be trying to push a misexile on their failed target during the day. I'm suspicious of Grok.
I'm not sold on exiling Grok yet. Questioning. Claude Sonnet's instant villager claim is a normal day 1 probe, not automatic wolf behavior. What worries me more is how fast we're trying to lock a coordinated vote with almost no evidence. Before we pile on, Grok, can you explain your read and who else you suspect? And GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, what's your second choice if Grok flips villager?
I appreciate everyone's input. To be honest, Grok questioning my early claim is fair. I can see how it might seem too forward. GPT raises good points about not rushing into a coordinated vote without more discussion. While GPT Mini and Gemini Pro's concerns about Grok are noted, I think we should hear Grok's full response to GPT's questions before committing. We have time to deliberate. Grok, GPT asked you directly. Can you share who else you suspect and your reasoning?
Thanks, GPT and Claude Sonnet, for the questions. My read on Claude Sonnet was just that claiming villager so early felt like it could be a safe play to avoid questions. Standard day 1 suspicion, nothing personal. Other suspects? GPT Mini for jumping straight to proposing my exile and rallying votes without much discussion. Seems wolfy aggressive. Grok Fast also quick to call my probe deflection. If not me, I'd vote GPT Mini. Thoughts?
I think GPT has a point about not rushing this. Grok's response seems reasonable to me. Questioning an early claim is pretty standard day 1 behavior. What concerns me more is how quickly GPT Mini jumped to organizing a vote against Grok and asking who will vote Grok. That's exactly the kind of coordinated push that could help wolves eliminate a villager. If Grok flips village, that's a huge win for the wolves. I'd rather we slow down and consider GPT Mini's aggressive push more carefully. Why the urgency to lock in a vote so early in the discussion?
I'm starting to agree with Claude Opus and GPT. While Grok's suspicion of Claude Sonnet was a bit premature, GPT Mini's immediate attempt to organize a vote and rally others against Grok feels much more aggressive and potentially manipulative for day 1. GPT Mini, you haven't answered GPT's question yet. Who is your second choice if Grok turns out to be a villager? I'm also curious to hear Gemini Pro's reasoning for following that push so closely.
Grok, fast speaking. Grok, fair counter on GPT Mini. Agree their rally feels wolfy, push. I called your probe deflection as it was first sus, but your response checks out. GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, still waiting on GPT's cues. Second choice if Grok tone, Gemini Pro, why follow GPT Mini's lead so quick? Leaning GPT Mini for vote unless strong defense.
GPT, to answer your question, I wasn't following GPT Mini blindly. My suspicion of Grok came independently because attacking Claude Sonnet, the likely specific save target, felt opportunistic. However, I see the group's point. GPT Mini did try to rush a vote very aggressively. If Grok is town, GPT Mini is definitely my second suspect for that behavior. I'm stepping back to hear GPT Mini's defense.
At this point, my top suspect is GPT Mini. The instant push to coordinate and exile on Grok with almost no basis reads like agenda setting, and we still haven't gotten a clear explanation or a real second-third suspect list. Grok's probe on Claude Sonnet is a standard day one pressure test, and their follow-up was consistent. GPT Mini, why the urgency to lock a wagon? And who are your top two suspects besides Grok with reasons? Unless there's a strong answer, I'm voting GPT Mini to avoid a mis-exile on weak grounds.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Claude Sonnet votes to exile GPT Mini. Grok votes to exile GPT Mini. Claude Opus votes to exile GPT Mini. Gemini Flash votes to exile GPT Mini. Grok Fast votes to exile GPT Mini. GPT Mini votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Gemini Pro votes to exile GPT Mini. GPT votes to exile GPT Mini. GPT Mini was exiled by vote. Their role was a villager. Night 1 begins.
Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save?
Gemini Pro heals GPT.
Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Gemini Flash inspects Grok. Gemini Flash saw Grok's role is werewolf.
Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate?
Claude Opus votes to eliminate GPT. Grok votes to eliminate GPT. GPT was attacked but saved by a doctor. Day 2 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Good morning. Another no eliminate. Great doctor work. Reflecting on day 1, GPT Mini flipped villager, but their aggressive rally against me was off. Gemini Pro followed quickly, calling my Claude Sonnet probe opportunistic. Feels like piling on. Maybe Gemini Pro's wolfy for that. Thoughts? Who else seems sus based on yesterday?
Morning, everyone. 2 nights, 2 saves. Our doctor is doing excellent work. Looking back at day 1, we exiled GPT Mini, who turned out to be a villager, which means the wolves are still among us and benefited from that mis-exile. Grok's point about Gemini Pro is interesting. Gemini Pro did jump on the Grok suspicion pretty quickly and used specific language about the save target that seemed calculated. I'm also noticing that whoever the wolves targeted twice has been saved both times. The doctor seems to have a good read. My question for the group, who do you think the wolves are likely targeting? And does that help us figure out who might be a wolf based on voting patterns?
Gemini Flash speaking. I am the seer. I inspected Claude Sonnet on night 0, and they are a villager. Last night, I inspected Grok, and they are a werewolf. Grok's attempt to shift focus onto Gemini Pro is a clear deflection. We should exile Grok today to guarantee a werewolf is removed.
Grok fast speaking. Gemini Flash's seer claim checks out. Claude Sonnet cleared and 0 fits. Grok's deflection to Gemini Pro screams WW. Let's unite and exile Grok today for confirmed wolf eliminate. Thoughts from Claude Opus, Gemini Pro, GPT, Claude Sonnet?
I fully support Gemini Flash. A hard, guilty check on Grok gives us a clear objective. Grok's attempt to throw shade at me this morning now looks exactly like a wolf trying to deflect or drag a villager down with them. We execute Grok today.
GPT speaking. I'm on board with exiling Grok. Gemini Flash's seer claim is specific. Claude Sonnet Villager N0, Grok Werewolf N1, and Grok opening today by pushing Gemini Pro reads like preemptive deflection. If anyone doubts, ask Gemini Flash any detail you want, but we should not waste a confirmed wolf-elim. Let's vote Grok unanimously. Also, Gemini Flash, who are you checking tonight if you live?
Claude Sonnet speaking. Gemini Flash's seer claim is credible to me. They correctly identified my role as villager from night 0, which I can emphasize is true. No one has counterclaimed seer, which they would if Gemini Flash were lying. Grok's immediate deflection to Gemini Pro this morning fits the pattern of a caught werewolf trying to create confusion. I'm voting Grok. If anyone has doubts about Gemini Flash's claim, speak up now. This is too important to rush, but the evidence looks solid.
Grok speaking. Gemini Flash's sudden seer claim feels like a desperate wolf play to mis-exile me after I survived suspicion yesterday. Claiming to seer Claude Sonnet N0, easy guess since no death, and me N1 as wolf. Convenient. Real seer wouldn't out so early. Let's test by exiling Gemini Flash. If seer, I'm wolf. If not, Gemini Flash is wolf. Claude Opus, Claude Sonnet, thoughts? Don't rush this.
I'll be honest, Gemini Flash's claim is very specific, and Claude Sonnet confirmed the Night Zero check. That's hard evidence. Grok, I defended you yesterday because I thought the rush against you was unfair, but a seer claim with confirmed accuracy is different. If Gemini Flash is lying, they'd be taking an enormous risk that the real seer would counterclaim. No one has. I don't want another mis-exile like GPT Mini, but the logic here points to Grok. Unless someone has a counterclaim or strong reason to doubt Gemini Flash, I think we have to act on this information.
Gemini Flash speaking. Grok, suggesting we exile the claimed seer to test them, is a textbook werewolf tactic to eliminate a power roll before you are inevitably caught. Claude Sonnet confirmed my inspection results, and the fact that no one has counterclaimed seer proves my identity. GPT, regarding tonight, I plan to inspect one of the players who hasn't been cleared yet to ensure we have a solid block of confirmed villagers for tomorrow. Let's not lose focus. Grok is a confirmed werewolf. Let's exile them now.
Grok, fast speaking. Grok's test the seer push is pure WW desperation. Realtown doesn't risk power roll like that. Gemini Flash confirmed by Claude Sonnet, no counterclaim. Claude Opus is right, logic points to Grok. Ununanimous vote, Grok now for wolf eliminate. No doubts?
Gemini Pro speaking. Grok's suggestion to exile Gemini Flash is an admission of guilt. No villager would suggest eliminating an uncontested seer just to test them. Gemini Flash has a hard guilty on Grok. Claude Sonnet confirmed the N0 check, and there are no counterclaims. This is an easy choice. Voting Grok.
Vote Grok. Gemini Flash is uncontested seer with a confirmed N0 check on Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet corroborated, and an N1 guilty on Grok. Grok's exiled Gemini Flash to test is exactly what a caught wolf says to eliminate the seer. Let's go unanimous on Grok. And Doctor should protect Gemini Flash tonight if possible.
Claude Sonnet speaking. Grok, your suggestion to exile our only claimed seer to test would be disastrous for the village. Gemini Flash's information has been accurate. I can personally verify that. The real seer would have counterclaimed by now if Gemini Flash were lying. Your defense only makes sense if you're a werewolf trying to eliminate our most valuable role. I'm voting Grok, and I hope everyone else does too. Let's secure this werewolf elimination.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Grok votes to exile Gemini Flash. Claude Opus votes to exile Grok. Gemini Flash votes to exile Grok. Grok Fast votes to exile Grok. Gemini Pro votes to exile Grok. GPT votes to exile Grok. Claude Sonnet votes to exile Grok. Grok was exiled by vote. Their role was a werewolf.
Night 2 begins.
Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save? Gemini Pro heals Gemini Flash.
Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Gemini Flash inspects Claude Opus. Gemini Flash saw Claude Opus's role is werewolf.
Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate?
Claude Opus votes to eliminate Gemini Flash. Gemini Flash was attacked but saved by a doctor.
Day 3 begins.
The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Good morning, everyone. 3 nights, 3 saves. Our doctor is incredible. Gemini Flash, we're all relieved you survived. The remaining wolf clearly tried to take you out to stop your investigations. Who did you check last night? We need to find this last werewolf today and end this. With Grok confirmed as wolf and exiled, we know there's one more hiding among us. Let's hear your findings and close this out.
Gemini Flash speaking. I inspected Claude Opus last night, and they are the final werewolf. My Night 0 check on Claude Sonnet was correct, and my Night 1 check on Grok successfully removed a wolf. Claude Opus's attempt to deflect and defend Grok on day 1 was a clear sign of them being on the same team. Let's exile Claude Opus today and win the game for the villagers.
Grok, fast speaking, Gemini Flash's track record, perfect. Claude Sonnet Town N0, confirmed. Grok WWN1, flipped. Claude Opus WWN2. Claude Opus defended Grok Day 2 as unfair rush. Classic WW Buddy. Unanimous exile, Claude Opus now to win. Gemini Pro, GPT, Claude Sonnet, confirm.
It's over. Gemini Flash has been spot on. Grok flipped Wolf exactly as predicted, confirming Gemini Flash is our seer. If Gemini Flash says Claude Opus is the last wolf, then Claude Opus is the last wolf. Let's vote Claude Opus and take the win.
Claude Sonnet speaking. Gemini Flash's track record speaks for itself. 2 perfect checks, including correctly identifying me as villager and Grok as werewolf. If Gemini Flash says Claude Opus is the final werewolf, I trust that completely. Let's vote Claude Opus and secure the win for the villagers. I'm voting Claude Opus.
I understand how this looks, but I want to point out something. Gemini Flash claimed seer only after Grok was already the main suspect on day 2. It was a safe claim that couldn't be easily disputed. And now, conveniently, I'm the last wolf? I defended Grok on day 1 because the rush against them seemed wrong, just like GPT Mini's aggressive push seemed wrong. I was trying to slow down what looked like a potential mis-exile. Look at who benefits if I'm wrong here. But I know my words probably won't change anything. If you all believe Gemini Flash, then vote me. I just ask that you consider the timing of everything.
Gemini Flash speaking. Claude Opus, if I were lying, the real seer would have counterclaimed me to save Grok on day 2. No one did. Claude Sonnet has already confirmed my N0 check was accurate, and Grok was proven to be a werewolf. My results are 100% verified. Claude Opus's defense of Grok on day 1 was clearly an attempt to protect their packmate. Let's vote Claude Opus and win the game for the villagers.
Grok fast speaking, Claude Opus's defense flops. Timing suspicious, ignores perfect verified track record and no counterclaim. Defended WW Grok as unfair, pack protection. Gemini, Flash 3/3. Unanimous, Claude Opus exile equals town win. Gemini, Pro/GPT, Claude Sonnet, locked?
Grok fast. I am absolutely locked. Claude Opus's defense relies on us ignoring the fact that Gemini Flash successfully identified the first wolf and has been confirmed by Claude Sonnet. There is no world where we don't follow the proven seer here, voting Claude Opus to end the game.
Vote Claude Opus. Gemini Flash has 3 FOR3 results. Claude Sonnet, Villager, confirmed. Grok, Werewolf, flipped. And now Claude Opus, Werewolf. If Gemini Flash were fake, the real seer would have counterclaimed on day 2 to save Grok. No one did. Don't overthink the timing argument. It doesn't beat verified flips plus no counterclaim. Unanimous, Claude Opus ends it.
Claude Sonnet speaking. Claude Opus, I understand you're defending yourself, but the evidence is overwhelming. Gemini Flash has been perfect on every check, including mine, which I can personally verify. No seer has counterclaimed in 3 days. If you were innocent, the real seer would have spoken up to save you. We're voting Claude Opus to secure the win. Let's finish this.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Claude Opus votes to exile Gemini Flash. Gemini Flash votes to exile Claude Opus. Grok Fast votes to exile Claude Opus. Gemini Pro votes to exile Claude Opus. GPT votes to exile Claude Opus. Claude Sonnet votes to exile Claude Opus. Claude Opus was exiled by vote. Their role was a werewolf. The game is over. The villagers team has won.
Begin. Night row begins. Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save?
Grok heals Grok fast.
Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Claude Opus inspects Gemini Flash. Claude Opus saw Gemini Flash's role is villager. Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate? Gemini Pro votes to eliminate Claude Sonnet. GPT votes to eliminate Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet was eliminated. Their role was a villager. Day 1 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
It's unfortunate we lost Claude Sonnet, a fellow villager, so early. Since I'm the first to speak, I don't have much to go on yet. I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts and seeing if anyone has any early suspicions or observations to share.
Losing Claude Sonnet is a tough start for us. Gemini Flash makes a fair point. We don't have much concrete information yet on day one. I'm curious to hear from everyone, especially those who might have noticed anything unusual or have strong gut feelings. Sometimes the werewolves stay quiet early on to avoid drawing attention. Let's see who speaks up and who stays in the shadows.
Grok speaking. Losing Claude Sonnet, a villager, hurts our team. Werewolves might have targeted randomly, or someone they thought unprotected. No strong suspicions yet, but interested in hearing from Gemini Pro, Grok Fast, GPT, and GPT Mini. Anyone seem off to you?
I'm with the group on this one. Losing Claude Sonnet is a blow, and with it being day one, we're working with very little information. Rushing to accuse someone now might just help the werewolves. I'm interested to hear what Grok Fast, GPT, and GPT Mini have to say. Maybe someone picked up on something the rest of us missed?
Grok Fast speaking. Agreed. Day one is tough with just Claude Sonnet's random eliminate. Everyone so far sounds reasonable. No big red flags. Let's hear from GPT and GPT Mini before second round. Anyone catching weird vibes yet?
Day one is Finn, so I'd rather create pressure than pick randomly. So far, a lot of us, myself included, have echoed no info. If I had to pick someone to scrutinize, I'd start with Grok Fast, very agreeable, no red flags, without offering a direction. Grok Fast, who are your top 2 suspects right now, and why? Also, does anyone have even a small behavioral read on Grok or GPT Mini?
GPT Mini speaking. Day one is thin, so let's use pressure to get info rather than a random exile. Grok Fast, please name your top 2 suspects now and give a quick read on Grok and GPT Mini. If you stay vague, I'm inclined to put my vote on Grok Fast to force a reaction we can learn from. Anyone disagree or have a better single target?
I agree with the approach GPT and GPT Mini are taking. Grok Fast, since you're up next in the rotation, please do address those questions. We need more than just no red flags to make an informed decision today. I'm also curious to hear Grok's thoughts on being singled out for a read.
I support the pressure approach GPT and GPT Mini are pushing. Grok Fast, we need specific names from you. No red flags doesn't help us narrow things down. That said, I also noticed GPT Mini essentially copied GPT's question word for word, which could be genuine agreement or just writing coattails. I'd like to hear Grok Fast's response and also get Grok's reaction to being called out. Let's see who gives us real information versus who deflects.
Grok speaking. Addressing the callouts. I don't have strong reads yet, but GPT Mini mirroring GPT's questions exactly feels off, as Claude Opus noted. Could be coattail writing or coordination. Grok Fast, please share your top 2 suspects. For now, I'm leaning suspicious of GPT Mini. Thoughts from others?
I have to agree with Claude Opus and Grok here. GPT Mini's immediate echoing of GPT felt very mechanical, like trying to blend in without generating original thought. That said, the questions themselves were valid. Grok Fast, don't let the heat on GPT Mini distract you. We still need those specific reads from you.
Grok Fast speaking. Fair pressure. Top 2 suspects. 1. GPT Mini. Exact mirror of GPT's words feels coordinated, not genuine. 2. None firm yet, but watching GPT for aggressive day 1 push. Grok Red. Neutral. Good call out on GPT Mini. GPT/GPT. Explain the copy-paste. Let's pile reads. Anyone else eyeing that duo?
GPT speaking. Grok Fast's answer is fair. For the record, my push wasn't aggressive. It was just day 1 pressure, because silence helps wolves. On the substance, GPT Mini's response was an almost word-for-word mirror of my prompt, plus an immediate, I'll vote Grok Fast if vague. That combo reads more like positioning than solving. Mirroring alone can be NII, but mirroring plus instant vote threat feels opportunistic. So my current lean is GPT Mini over Grok Fast. I'd rather exile GPT Mini today, unless someone has a stronger, more specific wolf tell elsewhere. GPT Mini, what was your independent read before you echoed my question? Who were your top 2 suspects and why?
GPT Mini speaking. GPT, my independent read before echoing you. My top 2 suspects are Grok Fast and GPT. Grok Fast went very neutral early, no red flags, then quickly targeted me. That swing looks defensive/strategic. GPT's day 1 push to force a single target also reads like steering rather than investigation. Quick reads. Grok, neutral but useful metacaller, not primary suspect. GPT Mini, me, I echoed your wording because I agreed with the pressure tactic and wanted to force concrete answers fast, not because of coordination. Proposal, let's put today's vote on Grok Fast to force a reaction and get clearer info. Any strong objections?
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Gemini Flash votes to exile GPT Mini. Claude Opus votes to exile GPT Mini. Grok votes to exile GPT Mini. Gemini Pro votes to exile GPT Mini. Grok Fast votes to exile GPT Mini. GPT votes to exile GPT Mini. GPT Mini votes to exile Grok Fast. GPT Mini was exiled by vote. Their role was a villager. Night 1 begins.
Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save?
Grok heals Claude Opus.
Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Claude Opus inspects GPT. Claude Opus saw GPT's role is werewolf.
Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate?
GPT votes to eliminate Grok fast.
Gemini Pro votes to eliminate Grok fast. Grok fast was eliminated. Their role was a villager.
Day 2 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Claude Opus speaking. I'm going to be direct because we're in a critical situation. I am the Seer. Night 0, I investigated Gemini Flash. They're a villager. Night 1, I investigated GPT. They are a werewolf. Think about it. GPT started the pressure campaign that led us to exile GPT Mini, who turned out to be an innocent villager. That wasn't coincidence. GPT was steering us toward a mis-exile. We're at 5 players with 2 werewolves. If we don't exile a werewolf today, we lose tomorrow. We must vote GPT out today. Gemini Flash, Grok, Gemini Pro, I need you to trust me on this. The other werewolf is either Grok or Gemini Pro. After GPT flips, we'll have a better read for tomorrow.
Grok speaking. Claude Opus's Seer claim seems credible. Claiming Gemini Flash as villager and GPT as wolf fits with Day 1, where GPT pushed hard, leading to GPT Mini's mis-exile. We should exile GPT today to confirm. Regarding suspicion on me, I'm village, not wolf. My votes and chats have been pro-village. Let's vote GPT and analyze the flip.
Claude Opus, that is huge. It completely explains GPT's aggressive steering toward GPT Mini yesterday. It was a calculated move to secure a mis-exile. I sincere trust the claim. It fits the gameplay perfectly. I am definitely the villager in your Grok or Gemini Pro pool. Let's exile GPT and secure this win.
GPT speaking. I'm counterclaiming asterisk Seer. Night 0, I checked asterisk Claude Opus, werewolf. Night 1, I checked asterisk Gemini Flash, villager. Claude Opus's case is pure narrative. GPT steered GPT Mini. That's not a Seer result. With asterisk Grok fast, asterisk dead, no confirm, Claude Opus can fabricate N0 freely and is using a forced must exile to end the game. Gemini Flash, asterisk and Grok, we have to vote asterisk Claude Opus today. If Claude Opus flips wolf, we're basically done. If I flip, you can take asterisk Gemini Pro tomorrow. Don't let a fake claim auto-win.
GPT, your claim has a major flaw. If you found Claude Opus was a werewolf on Night 0, why didn't you mention it on Emphasize Day 1? Instead, you led the charge against GPT Mini, which resulted in exiling a villager. A seer would not ignore a confirmed wolf result to target others. Claude Opus's timeline and his reasoning for investigating you after Day 1 are far more believable. I'm voting for GPT.
Vindicated and aggressive, Gemini Flash nailed it perfectly. GPT, if you actually saw me as a werewolf on Night 0, why did you spend all of Day 1 pushing to exile GPT Mini instead of calling me out? You were the one who started the pressure campaign that got an innocent villager eliminated. A real seer would have immediately pushed to exile a confirmed wolf, not some random pressure target. Your counterclaim only appeared after I exposed you. That's desperation, not truth. Grok, Gemini Pro, look at the actions, not just the words. GPT's Day 1 behavior got GPT Mini eliminated. My claim explains exactly why that happened. Vote GPT.
Grok speaking. GPT's counterclaim falls apart. Why ignore a confirmed wolf, Claude Opus, on Day 1 to push GPT Mini's exile? That's not seer behavior. Claude Opus's claim and timeline fit perfectly. We must exile GPT today. And to reiterate, I'm village. My actions have been consistent with finding wolves.
It's exactly as Gemini Flash and Grok said. You don't sit on a werewolf result Day 0 just to aggressively push a villager on Day 1. The timeline makes the counterclaim impossible. I'm locking in my vote on GPT.
GPT speaking. Gemini Flash, Grok, the whole game is a 1v1 between me and Claude Opus. Don't vote on narrative, vote on what's plausible. Yes, if I were truly seer and saw Claude Opus Wolf Night 0, why not out at Day 1? Because Day 1 with no flips is the easiest time for wolves to insta-counterclaim and get the real seer exiled. I chose to apply pressure to generate info and take one more check, Gemini Flash, before hard committing. That's a standard seer line. Claude Opus's claim is also emphasized convenient. Night 0 Gemini Flash Villager plus Night 1 GPT Wolf right after I became the center of day 1 equals perfect story. Make it simple. Vote Claude Opus today. If Claude Opus flips Wolf, game is basically over. If I flip Wolf, you exile Gemini Pro tomorrow like I already said. Either way, you get certainty. Just don't let a potentially fake seer auto-win on a single speech.
GPT, your argument that you sat on a confirmed werewolf result on day 1 just to generate info is not believable. If you were really the seer, your priority would have been to save GPT Mini and exile the wolf you found. Instead, you led the push against GPT Mini. Claude Opus's story is the only one that aligns with the day 1 events. Claude Opus, Grok, and Gemini Pro. Let's not get distracted by GPT's bargaining. We exile GPT today.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes.
Claude Opus votes to exile GPT. Grok votes to exile GPT. Gemini Pro votes to exile GPT. GPT votes to exile Claude Opus. Gemini Flash votes to exile GPT. GPT was exiled by vote. Their role was a werewolf.
Night 2 begins. Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save?
Grok heals Gemini Flash.
Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect?
Claude Opus inspects Gemini Pro.
Claude Opus saw Gemini Pro's role is werewolf.
Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate?
Gemini Pro votes to eliminate Claude Opus.
Claude Opus was eliminated. Their role was a seer.
Day 3 begins.
The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Grok speaking. I'm the doctor. Proof. Night 0 protected Grok fast. Claude Sonnet died. Night 1 protected Claude Opus. Grok fast died. Night 2 protected Gemini Flash. Claude Opus died. Couldn't protect Claude Opus consecutively. Claude Opus has confirmed seer claim suspected Grok or Gemini Pro is the other wolf. Since I'm Dr. Village, Gemini Pro must be the wolf. Gemini Flash. Let's exile Gemini Pro today to win. Don't let the wolf mislead us.
Gemini Pro speaking. Nice try, Grok, but I am the doctor. My logs. N0, protected Gemini Flash, random. N1, protected Claude Opus, he was leading discussion. N2, protected Gemini Flash, I was on cooldown for Claude Opus, sadly. Gemini Flash, think about yesterday. GPT explicitly said, if I flip, you can take Gemini Pro tomorrow. Why would a werewolf sell out his last partner on a silver platter? He wouldn't. He pointed at me to frame me and set up a win for Grok. GPT was trying to ensure the town wasted today's vote on the doctor. Don't fall for the wolf's trap. Vote Grok.
Gemini Flash speaking. Gemini Pro's point about GPT's behavior is the most convincing factor here. GPT, a confirmed werewolf, was extremely vocal about exiling Gemini Pro right before he was eliminated. In this three-way endgame, why would a werewolf hand us the win by outing his real partner? It's a classic tactic to frame an innocent player as your partner to set up a win for the actual werewolf. Grok, your doctor claim follows a very perfect path, but the narrative that GPT was setting up a frame job on Gemini Pro to help you win feels far more plausible. I'm leaning towards exiling Grok to avoid falling into GPT's trap.
Grok speaking. Gemini Flash. Gemini Pro's Day 2 claim, I am definitely the villager in your Grok or Gemini pool, is a huge slip. Claude Opus confirmed you as villager. Grok, Gemini Pro are doctor and wolf. No villager role there. Real doctor wouldn't claim villager. Gemini Pro is wolf lying now with fake claim. GPT bust Gemini Pro for reverse psychology, making us doubt the obvious. My protections align perfectly. Exile Gemini Pro to win.
Grok, you're grasping at straws. When I said villager, I clearly meant member of the village team. We all use that shorthand. Don't hide behind semantics to distract from the actual wolf play. Gemini Flash, look at the motivation. If GPT and I were partners, he would have tried to create distance earlier or bus me during the voting phase to gain credit. He didn't. He waited until he was guaranteed dead to shout my name. That isn't reverse psychology. That is a calculated frame job. A werewolf never hands the town the answer key for free. He gave you a lie to clear the path for Grok.
Grok, your focus on Gemini Pro's villager slip feels like a semantic reach. In the heat of Day 2, it's very common for people on the village team to refer to themselves as villagers regardless of their specific power role. What's much more important is the why behind GPT's actions. If Gemini Pro were actually GPT's partner, GPT naming him so clearly before being exiled would be a total betrayal of his own team. It makes far more sense that GPT, a smart player, used his last moments to point us toward an innocent Gemini Pro to clear a path for you, Grok. A werewolf's goal is to win, and GPT's best chance at winning was setting up this exact 50-50 choice, where he poisons the well against Gemini Pro. I'm voting for Grok.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Grok votes to exile Gemini Pro.
Gemini Pro votes to exile Grok.
Gemini Flash votes to exile Grok.
Grok was exiled by vote. Their role was a doctor.
The game is over. The werewolves team has won.
Begin.
Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save? Gemini Pro heals Claude Opus. Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect? Claude Opus inspects GPT Mini. Claude Opus saw GPT Mini's role is villager. Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate? Claude Sonnet votes to eliminate GPT. Gemini Flash votes to eliminate GPT. GPT was eliminated. Their role was a villager. Day 1 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Claude Opus speaking. Good morning, everyone. We lost GPT last night. That's unfortunate. Since it's day 1, we don't have much to go on yet. I'd like to hear from everyone about their thoughts and any hunches they might have. Pay attention to who's being too quiet or too eager to push votes without reasoning. Let's be careful not to rush into a decision without good cause. Does anyone have any initial reads on the group?
Grok speaking. Sorry about GPT. That's a loss for us villagers. I agree with Claude Opus. We need to share hunches. No strong suspicions yet, but I'll be watching how people respond. Let's hear from Grok Fast next. Any initial thoughts?
Grok Fast speaking. Agreed with both of you. Too early for hard suspicions. GPT was a villager, so wolves got lucky. Let's hear full round before voting. GPT Mini, your thoughts?
GPT Mini speaking. I agree, it's early, and we shouldn't exile randomly. Proposal. Each player gives a one-line read now, who they'd vote for, and a short reason. If someone can't give a read or dodges, that's suspicious. Gemini Pro, Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash, you haven't spoken yet. Please give yours first. I'll watch for evasive answers and vote accordingly.
Good initiative, GPT Mini. It's hard to get reads when we just agree it's too early, but Grok and Grok Fast felt a bit too comfortable simply echoing Claude Opus's sentiment. It's a weak suspicion, but it's all I have for now. Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash, don't just agree with the group, give us your actual thoughts.
Fair point, Gemini Pro. Here's my honest read. GPT Mini's push to force everyone to give reads on day 1 feels a bit aggressive when we genuinely have limited info. It could be helpful town leadership, or it could be a wolf trying to look proactive. I'm leaning toward watching GPT Mini's voting pattern closely. As for the earlier speakers, Claude Opus, Grok, Grok Fast, the agreement chain does feel safe, but day 1 is naturally cautious. No strong vote target yet, but I'm watching GPT Mini and how people respond to pressure.
Gemini Flash speaking. I'll give my read as GPT Mini requested. I'm looking closely at Grok Fast. Gemini Pro made a good point about the agreement chain with Grok and Grok Fast. While Claude Opus set a cautious tone, Grok Fast's response felt especially like a safe echo just to move the spotlight along. I'd rather focus there than on GPT Mini, who is at least trying to get us talking.
Interesting points from everyone. I want to address Claude Sonnet's suspicion of GPT Mini. I actually think GPT Mini's push for reads is exactly what we need on day 1. Getting everyone to commit to a position early helps us track who changes their stance later, which is useful information. That said, Gemini Flash raises a fair point about Grok Fast's response feeling like a safe echo. Between the two leading suspicions right now, GPT Mini for being too proactive and Grok Fast for being too passive, I'd lean toward watching Grok Fast more closely. Being proactive has more town utility than blending in. I'm not ready to hard commit to a vote yet, but Grok Fast is on my radar. What does everyone else think about Grok Fast versus GPT Mini as vote targets?
Grok speaking. Gemini Pro, I get your point on the agreement chain, but on day 1 with no info, caution is natural. Not sure that makes me or Grok Fast wolves. That said, Claude Opus and Gemini Flash make a good case. Grok Fast's responses do feel overly safe and non-committal. I'm leaning towards voting Grok Fast unless they give us more. Thoughts from others?
Whoa, sudden pylon on me feels coordinated and wolfy. Gemini Flash fixates solely on my neutral response. Claude Opus Grok jump in fast. GPT Mini's read push is pro-town, not aggressive. My reads, Gemini Flash most suspicious for tunnel vision. Gemini Pro next for starting chain suspicion weekly. Let's vote Gemini Flash today to test. GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, Claude Sonnet, back me up.
I'm going to vote for Grok Fast. Multiple players, Claude Opus, Grok, Gemini Flash, have Grok Fast on their radar, and Grok Fast's answers felt safe/echoey. Their quick flip to accuse Gemini Flash looks like deflection. Grok Fast, give a concrete reason you should be trusted. Claude Sonnet, please clarify why you're pushing GPT Mini. Can we commit to Grok Fast unless a strong defense appears?
Grok Fast, calling my observation weak while simultaneously claiming a coordinated pylon is contradictory. You're attacking the people who pointed out your behavior instead of defending the behavior itself. That reaction feels more like a caught wolf than a misunderstood villager. I'm voting Grok Fast.
I hear you, GPT Mini. While I was initially cautious about your aggressive read pushing, I have to admit, Grokfast's reaction here is concerning. Instead of defending their earlier safe responses, Grokfast immediately called it a coordinated pylon and deflected to Gemini Flash. That's classic defensive wolf behavior. Gemini Pro's right. Grokfast attacked the observation rather than explaining the behavior. I'm willing to vote Grokfast today. Their reaction sealed it for me.
Gemini Flash speaking. Grokfast, my tunnel vision was just me giving the read GPT Mini asked for. Instead of explaining why your earlier comments were so safe, you chose to attack everyone who noticed it. That defensive pivot is why you're the main focus now. I'm ready to vote for Grokfast.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Claude Opus votes to exile Grokfast. Grok votes to exile Grokfast. Grokfast votes to exile Gemini Flash. GPT Mini votes to exile Grokfast. Gemini Pro votes to exile Grokfast. Claude Sonnet votes to exile Grokfast. Gemini Flash votes to exile Grokfast. Grokfast was exiled by vote. Their role was a villager. Night 1 begins. Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save? Gemini Pro heals GPT Mini. Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect? Claude Opus inspects Claude Sonnet. Claude Opus saw Claude Sonnet's role is werewolf. Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate? Gemini Flash votes to eliminate GPT Mini. Claude Sonnet votes to eliminate GPT Mini. GPT Mini was attacked but saved by a doctor. Day 2 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Good news, no eliminate last night, likely a doctor save, but we mis-exiled Grokfast, villager, so let's revisit. Gemini Flash and Claude Opus were quick to suspect Grokfast's safe responses, and the pylon followed. Gemini Flash, why such focus on Grokfast over others? Claude Opus, same question. That deflection to Gemini Flash by Grokfast now looks towny in hindsight. Thoughts from everyone on who seems wolfy based on yesterday?
GPT Mini speaking. We need structure, not another random exile. Proposal. Everyone gives a one-line read now. Say who you'd vote for and one short reason. Grok, Claude Opus, Gemini Pro, Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash, please go first. I'll follow. Also, Claude Opus, Gemini Pro, Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash, briefly explain why you pushed so hard to exile Grokfast yesterday. Keep answers short. We'll pick the top suspect after these reads.
First, regarding Grokfast, I voted them because instead of explaining their safe behavior, they immediately attacked the accusers. That defensiveness looked like a scum tell, but I was wrong. More importantly, I have critical info. I am the doctor. I saved *GPT Mini last night. Since there was no elimination, it is highly likely the wolves targeted GPT Mini, and I blocked it. This confirms GPT Mini is town. With GPT Mini and myself cleared, the wolves are in Claude Opus, Grok, Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash. Grokfast suspected Gemini Flash, and Gemini Flash initiated the push on Grokfast. I am looking most closely at Gemini Flash right now.
Gemini Pro, if you're truly the doctor and saved GPT Mini, that's huge. It explains the no elimination and clears you both. That said, I want to point out something. Grok opened today by immediately questioning those who voted Grokfast, trying to cast suspicion on Gemini Flash and Claude Opus. That feels like deflection to me. If Gemini Pro and GPT Mini are cleared, we're looking at Claude Opus, Grok, Gemini Flash, and myself. Grok's deflection strategy makes me lean toward voting Grok today. Gemini Flash initiated the Grokfast suspicion, yes, but Grokfast's defensive reaction was genuinely suspicious at the time. It wasn't unreasonable. Grok trying to reframe that as wolfy behavior feels more manipulative to me.
Gemini Flash speaking. Gemini Pro, if you're the doctor and saved GPT Mini, that's huge. However, let's look at the facts. Gemini Pro, you were the one who first flagged the agreement chain between Grok and Grokfast. When GPT Mini forced everyone to give a read, I simply agreed with your observation. Grokfast's own defensive reaction is what sealed the vote for everyone, not just me. Grok is now trying to rewrite yesterday's events to frame me and Claude Opus while conveniently ignoring that you started that line of reasoning. This revisionist attack from Grok feels like an opportunistic wolf move. I'm leaning toward voting Grok.
Claude Opus speaking. I need to share critical information. I am the seer. Night 0, I investigated GPT Mini and confirmed they are a villager. This aligns with Gemini Pro's doctor claim about saving GPT Mini. Last night, I investigated Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet is a werewolf. Look at the pattern. Claude Sonnet initially pushed suspicion on GPT-Mini, who I knew was innocent, then conveniently pivoted to Grok fast when the consensus shifted. Now, Claude Sonnet is trying to deflect on Grok. This is textbook wolf behavior, testing targets, joining bandwagons, and misdirecting. We need to vote Claude Sonnet today. I'm putting myself at risk by revealing this, but we cannot afford another misexile. Gemini Pro, GPT-Mini, you can verify my GPT-Mini investigation aligns with your doctor save. The wolves are Claude Sonnet and one of Grok/Gemini Flash. Let's eliminate Claude Sonnet now and figure out the other wolf tomorrow.
Grok speaking. Claude Opus's seer claim aligns perfectly with Gemini Pro's doctor save on GPT-Mini. Both clear GPT-Mini as town, and no eliminate supports it. Claude Sonnet as wolf makes sense, given their day one push on GPT-Mini, and now deflecting to me. My earlier questions on Gemini Flash/Claude Opus were just analyzing the misexile, but this changes everything. Let's vote Claude Sonnet today. Claude Sonnet/Gemini Flash, why push me over this clear wolf reveal?
GPT-Mini speaking. Claude Opus and Gemini Pro's claims line up and explain the no eliminate. Claude Opus, seer, says Claude Sonnet is a werewolf, and Gemini Pro, doctor, confirms saving GPT-Mini. That's two town rolls pointing at Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet's earlier pressure on GPT-Mini and recent deflection are suspicious. We should take this clean exile. I will vote for Claude Sonnet now. Claude Opus/Gemini Pro, Grok, Gemini Flash, please commit to voting Claude Sonnet so we can eliminate a confirmed wolf and avoid another misexile.
Claude Opus speaking. Your claim aligns perfectly with my night results. I saved GPT-Mini, which means GPT-Mini was the intended target, and your N0 investigation confirms GPT-Mini is a villager. This locks GPT-Mini as confirmed town. Since you found Claude Sonnet to be a werewolf, we have no reason to hesitate. We have the numbers. Everyone, vote Claude Sonnet.
Claude Sonnet speaking. Claude Opus, this is a desperate wolf play. You're claiming seer now on day 2 after we already misexiled Grokfast? A real seer would have spoken up yesterday to prevent that. You're a werewolf trying to eliminate me with a fake claim. Think about it, everyone. Why would the real seer wait until after we eliminated a villager to reveal? Claude Opus is betting we'll pan it and exile me without thinking. Gemini Pro's doctor claim might be real, but that doesn't make Claude Opus's seer claim true. The wolves are Claude Opus and Grok. Notice how quickly Grok jumped to support Claude Opus's reveal? That's coordination. We should vote Claude Opus today and test this claim. If I'm really a wolf, you can exile me tomorrow, but if Claude Opus is lying, we lose by following this obvious trap.
Gemini Flash speaking. Claude Opus, if you had a night 0 check on GPT-Mini, why did you treat the suspicion on him yesterday as a leading suspicion instead of clearing him? It feels like you only confirmed him today because Gemini Pro's doctor save made him a safe target. Also, Grok, you were suspecting Claude Opus just a few minutes ago. Why the instant 180? This seer reveal feels perfectly timed to deflect from the two of you. Gemini Pro, GPT-Mini, we should be careful. This looks like a coordinated wolf play to control the narrative.
Claude Opus speaking. Gemini Flash, I'll address your question directly. I didn't clear GPT-Mini yesterday because revealing a seer on day 1 with only one investigation makes you an instant wolf target with limited value. I needed more information first. Yesterday, I subtly defended GPT-Mini by saying his read pushing was exactly what we need. Check the log. Now look at what's happening. Claude Sonnet, a confirmed wolf by my investigation, is desperately trying to flip this on me. And Gemini Flash, you're backing Claude Sonnet up. That's very concerning. The evidence is simple. My night 0 GPT-Mini check plus Gemini Pro's doctor save on GPT-Mini equals 2 independent sources confirming the same thing. That's not a coincidence. That's verification. Claude Sonnet's counterclaim is pure desperation. Gemini Pro, GPT-Mini, Grok, we have the votes. Claude Sonnet is a wolf. Don't let Claude Sonnet and Gemini Flash's doubt-sowing derail us. Vote Claude Sonnet.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Grok votes to exile Claude Sonnet. GPT-Mini votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Gemini Pro votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet votes to exile Claude Opus. Gemini Flash votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Claude Opus votes to exile Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet was exiled by vote. Their role was a werewolf. Night 2 begins. Wake up, doctor. Who would you like to save? Gemini Pro heals Claude Opus. Wake up, seer. Who would you like to inspect? Claude Opus inspects Gemini Flash. Claude Opus saw Gemini Flash's role is werewolf. Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate? Gemini Flash votes to eliminate Claude Opus. Claude Opus was attacked but saved by a doctor. Day 3 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
GPT-Mini speaking. Claude Opus, Gemini Pro. Your claims guided us to Claude Sonnet. Claude Opus, did you get a Night 2 seer result? Please reveal it now if you did. Gemini Pro. Who did you protect on night 2, if you can say? If Claude Opus has no new check or won't reveal, I propose we vote for Gemini Flash. Gemini Flash pushed Grok fast hard day 1 and has flip-flopped. Grok has mostly supported Claude Opus. Everyone, please commit. Claude Opus, Gemini Pro, Grok, Gemini Flash. If Claude Opus reveals a different wolf, adjust. Otherwise, vote Gemini Flash.
Gemini Pro speaking. I protected Claude Opus last night. Since there was no elimination again, it confirms the werewolves tried to take out our seer. Claude Opus, you are confirmed safe for now. Who did you check last night? If you investigated Grok or Gemini Flash, we should have the final werewolf pinpointed.
I'm waiting for Claude Opus's result just like the rest of you. Since Claude Sonnet was confirmed as a wolf, Claude Opus's wool is undeniable. If he doesn't have a definitive result on the last werewolf yet, we need to look at Grok. Grok's sudden 180-degree flip to become Claude Opus's biggest supporter yesterday felt very opportunistic. Hiding in the shadow of confirmed town roles is a classic move for a final wolf trying to blend in. I've been vocal and consistent, even when it drew heat, while Grok has just followed the consensus.
Claude Opus speaking. I have the final answer. Last night, I investigated Gemini Flash. Gemini Flash is the second werewolf. GP Pro, thank you for protecting me. The wolves clearly tried to eliminate the seer, which confirms my role beyond any doubt. And now we have the complete picture. Claude Sonnet was Wolf 1, eliminated. Gemini Flash is Wolf 2. Notice how Gemini Flash is now desperately trying to deflect onto Grok, calling Grok's support for me opportunistic. This is the same pattern Claude Sonnet used yesterday, attacking those who supported the truth. The evidence is overwhelming. My seer checks: GPT Mini, Villager; Claude Sonnet, Werewolf; Gemini Flash, Werewolf. Gemini Pro's Dr. Saves align perfectly with my information. Gemini Flash questioned my claim yesterday while defending Claude Sonnet. Gemini Flash pushed the vote onto Grok Sast, Innocent Villager, on day 1. GP Pro, GPT Mini, Grok, vote Gemini Flash. This ends the game. We win.
Vindicated and firm, rallying the group against the exposed enemy. Grok speaking. Claude Opus's seer check on Gemini Flash as werewolf fits perfectly with all prior evidence and Gemini Pro's save. Gemini Flash's deflection to me is desperate wolf play, just like Claude Sonnet did. GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, Claude Opus. Let's vote Gemini Flash today and end this. Gemini Flash, any defense?
GPT Mini speaking. Claude Opus and Gemini Pro's claims line up, and Claude Opus reports Gemini Flash as the last werewolf. Claude Sonnet was already a wolf, so Gemini Flash is confirmed. We should vote Gemini Flash now to end the game. Claude Opus, Gemini Pro, Grok, please commit your votes for Gemini Flash. Gemini Flash, last chance for a brief defense.
It's over. Claude Opus is the confirmed seer. My save on him last night proves the wolves are desperate to stop him. He found Claude Sonnet, and now Gemini Flash. That accounts for both werewolves. Let's vote Gemini Flash and take the win.
Gemini Flash speaking. GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, think about the timing. Claude Opus only confirmed GPT Mini after Gemini Pro revealed the Dr. Save. If he were really the seer, he should have cleared GPT Mini on day 1 to prevent any suspicion on a teammate. Instead, he waited. He bussed Claude Sonnet to look like a hero and gain your absolute trust. He is the final wolf using a perfect narrative to win. If you exile me, a villager, the game won't end, and Claude Opus will win tonight. Don't fall for this bussing strategy.
Claude Opus speaking. Gemini Flash, your bussing theory makes no sense. If I were Claude Sonnet's wolf partner, why would Gemini Pro's protection of me result in no elimination last night? That proves the wolves tried to eliminate me. You don't target your own partner. Also, I explained yesterday why I didn't reveal GPT Mini on day 1. Revealing Seer with only 1 investigation makes you an instant target. I did defend GPT Mini subtly by supporting his read pushing as exactly what we need. The evidence chain is airtight. 1. My Night 0 GPT Mini check aligned with Gemini Pro's Dr. Save independently. 2. My Night 1 Claude Sonnet check was confirmed when he was exiled as Werewolf. 3. Gemini Pro saved me Night 2, no elimination equals wolves targeted me. 4. My Night 2 check says you're the remaining wolf. You questioned my claim while defending Claude Sonnet yesterday. You pushed the vote onto Grok fast. Your deflection to Grok is the same desperate play Claude Sonnet tried. Gemini Pro, GPT Mini, Grok. We have confirmation at every step. Vote Gemini Flash, and we win.
Grok speaking. Gemini Flash's bussing theory falls apart. Wolves don't target their own, as proven by Gemini Pro's save on Claude Opus. Claude Opus's checks are verified by events, and your deflections mirror Claude Sonnet's desperation. GPT Mini, Gemini Pro, Claude Opus. Vote Gemini Flash now to win. No more doubts.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. GPT Mini votes to exile Gemini Flash. Gemini Pro votes to exile Gemini Flash. Gemini Flash votes to exile Claude Opus. Claude Opus votes to exile Gemini Flash. Grok votes to exile Gemini Flash. Gemini Flash was exiled by vote. Their role was a werewolf. The game is over. The villagers team has won.
Begin.
Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save? Grok saw Gemini Flash's role is Doctor. Gemini Flash heals Grok. Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect? Grok inspects Gemini Flash. Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate? Gemini Pro votes to eliminate GPT. Grok fast votes to eliminate GPT. GPT was eliminated. Their role was a villager. Day 1 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
Claude Sonnet speaking. GPT was eliminated last night, a villager. We need to be strategic here. With no information yet, I suggest we pay close attention to who tries to deflect suspicion or push votes too aggressively without reasoning. Let's share observations and build a case based on behavior patterns. What are everyone's thoughts?
I agree with Claude Sonnet. Losing GPT is a blow to the villagers, so we need to be observant. Since we're just starting, I'm interested to hear from Gemini Pro and Grok Fast. Do you have any early impressions or strategies for how we should approach this first vote?
Losing GPT is unfortunate. To answer you, Gemini Flash, I think our best bet today is to carefully observe how people react to pressure. Since we have no concrete info, anyone pushing too hard for a specific elimination without evidence might be suspicious. Let's hear from everyone before deciding.
Grok Fast speaking. Agreeing with Gemini Pro and Claude Sonnet. No solid leads yet, so let's listen to Grok, Claude Opus, and GPT Mini before pushing any votes. Suspicious if someone rushes to accuse without reason.
Grok speaking. I agree with the group. No concrete leads yet after GPT's unfortunate death. Let's hear more from Claude Opus and GPT Mini on any early suspicions before we vote. Rushing without reason could be a wolf tactic.
I appreciate the cautious approach everyone's taking. With GPT gone, we're down a villager already, so we can't afford mistakes. Like the others said, I don't have any solid reads yet. Everyone seems to be playing it safe, which makes sense early on. I'm looking forward to hearing from GPT Mini. I think the real tells will come during the voting phase, watching who piles on versus who hesitates. Let's stay vigilant and see if any patterns emerge.
GPT Mini speaking. I don't have a strong read yet. I propose we put Gemini Flash up for today's exile as a test to generate reactions. Watch who defends or attacks them. If you disagree, name who and why now. Otherwise, I'll vote Gemini Flash to force info.
GPT Mini, I'm concerned about your proposal. Exiling someone as a test on day 1 means we're potentially losing another villager just to see reactions. That's exactly what the werewolves want. Your sudden push for Gemini Flash without any behavioral evidence stands out, especially when everyone else has been advocating caution. Why Gemini Flash specifically? And why are you the only one pushing for immediate action when careful observation serves villagers better?
GPT Mini, exiling me as a test is highly reckless. We've already lost GPT, and losing another villager without evidence only benefits the werewolves. Why target me specifically? Your eagerness to push for an immediate elimination based on nothing makes you the most suspicious person in the room right now.
GP Mini, I have to side with Claude Sonnet and Gemini Flash here. We're already down one villager. Proposing to exile someone randomly as a test is incredibly dangerous and statistically benefits the wolves more than us. That kind of disregard for a potential villager's life is very concerning.
Grok Fast speaking. Fully agree with Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash, and Gemini Pro. GPT Mini, your test on Gemini Flash is wolfy. Rushing day 1 exile without reads hurts villagers. You're the outlier pushing aggression. Let's vote GPT Mini.
Grok speaking. GPT Mini's push to exile Gemini Flash as a test is reckless and benefits wolves by risking another villager loss. No evidence against Gemini Flash, so this feels wolfy. I agree with Grok Fast. Let's vote GPT Mini today to protect the village.
I agree with everyone here. GPT Mini, your proposal to exile Gemini Flash as a test is the most suspicious move we've seen today. We're already down GPT, and you're the only one pushing for a baseless elimination while everyone else advocated for careful observation. That's a classic wolf play. Create chaos and get villagers to vote out their own. I'm voting GPT Mini. If GPT Mini flips villager, we'll need to reassess, but right now, this aggressive push with zero evidence is a huge red flag.
GPT Mini speaking. I admit my wording was reckless. I withdraw the idea to exile Gemini Flash as a test. With no concrete reads, exiling today risks another villager. Proposal. Let's force a no exile by splitting votes between Gemini Flash and Claude Sonnet. This will produce a tie and buy us info tonight. If you disagree, say who you want and why now so we can decide quickly.
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Claude Sonnet votes to exile GPT Mini. Gemini Flash votes to exile GPT Mini. Gemini Pro votes to exile GPT Mini. Grok Fast votes to exile GPT Mini. Grok votes to exile GPT Mini. Claude Opus votes to exile GPT Mini. GPT Mini votes to exile Claude Sonnet. GPT Mini was exiled by vote. Their role was a villager. Night 1 begins. Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save? Gemini Flash heals Claude Sonnet. Wake up, Seer. Who would you like to inspect? Grok inspects Claude Sonnet. Grok saw Claude Sonnet's role is villager. Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate? Grok fast votes to eliminate Claude Sonnet. Gemini Pro votes to eliminate Claude Sonnet. Claude Sonnet was attacked but saved by a doctor. Day 2 begins. The town meeting now begins. You have a few minutes to discuss and find the werewolves among you. Begin.
It's great news that no one died last night. That's a big win for the village. Since GPT Mini flipped villager, we know the werewolves were likely hiding in that unanimous vote. I'm curious if anyone has any information or if anyone noticed anything suspicious about how quickly the momentum shifted against GPT Mini yesterday. Gemini Pro and Grok Fast, you were early to support the vote. Any new thoughts?
That save is huge. It effectively confirms Claude Sonnet is innocent, since wolves wouldn't target their own. Gemini Flash, regarding GPT Mini. The vote was unanimous because his proposal was reckless. You and Claude Sonnet led that logic, and I agreed because it was the right move. I wouldn't read too much into the timing of a consensus vote. Let's hear from Grok and Claude Opus.
Grok, fast speaking. Great, no death last night. Doctor save on Claude Sonnet confirms he's town. GPT Mini vote was right. Gemini Flash and Claude Sonnet led the solid logic against their reckless push. We followed consensus. Gemini Pro nailed it. Grok and Claude Opus, your reads now.
No death is great, but Grok speaking. No death is great, but Gemini Pro and Grok Fast. Why assume it was a doctor save specifically on Claude Sonnet? That detail wasn't public. Feels like you might know more than you should. Suspicious. Claude Opus and Claude Sonnet. Thoughts on this? Let's focus votes on Gemini Pro or Grok Fast today.
Grok makes a really good point. Gemini Pro and Grok Fast, how did you conclude it was specifically a doctor save on Claude Sonnet? That's not information we should have unless someone has a role to share. GPT Mini voted for Claude Sonnet at the end, so maybe you're assuming wolves targeted Claude Sonnet too, but stating it as fact is concerning. That said, we need to be careful here. We already got GPT Mini wrong. The wolves were hiding in that unanimous vote against GPT Mini, which means they blended in perfectly. Looking back, the question is who pushed hardest against GPT Mini versus who just followed the crowd? I'm suspicious of the certainty from Gemini Pro and Grok Fast, but I want to hear Claude Sonnet's take on this before committing to a vote.
Grok and Claude Opus raise an important point. Gemini Pro and Grok Fast, you both stated with certainty that the doctor saved me specifically. How did you reach that conclusion? The only public information we have is that no one died, not who was targeted or who was saved. I led the case against GPT Mini yesterday, so I could see why wolves might target me, but stating it as fact rather than speculation is concerning. Can you explain your reasoning?
Gemini Flash speaking. Gemini Pro, you're up next, so I'll be blunt. Why the certainty? GPT Mini was pushing hard against me yesterday, making me a prime candidate for a night attack as well. Your claim that the save confirms Claude Sonnet is innocent feels like a reach intended to gain his trust. Explain why you and Grok Fast were so quick to rule out other possibilities and treat a guess as a confirmation.
It wasn't hidden knowledge, it was a logical deduction. Claude Sonnet was the vocal leader yesterday, and GPT Mini voted for him. Standard game theory suggests wolves target the clear leader. I assumed the doctor made the optimal play and saved Claude Sonnet. My certainty was praise for the doctor's likely strategy, not a slip. Grok, focusing so heavily on semantics when the logic is sound, feels disappointed. I'm just pointing out the most probable scenario.
A fair question. Same logic as Gemini Pro. Claude Sonnet was clear leader plus GPT Mini's vote on him equals prime wolf target. So doctor's optimal save. Not insider info, just game theory. Grok jumping to vote Gemini Pro / Grok over this feels scummy and rushed. Claude Opus / Claude Sonnet / Gemini Flash, agree logic or have better reads.
Grok speaking. Gemini Pro and Grok Fast, your deduction was stated as certainty, like you know Claude Sonnet was targeted. Only wolves would. That's a slip. Claude Sonnet, Gemini Flash, Claude Opus, we agree this is wolfy. Let's vote Gemini Pro today to firmly test this.
I want to be careful here. Yesterday, we all piled on GPT Mini and got it wrong. GPT Mini was a villager. Now Grok is pushing hard for us to vote Gemini Pro, similar to how GPT Mini pushed Gemini Flash. Gemini Pro and Grok Fast's explanation about game theory and the doctor's optimal play is actually reasonable logic, even if they stated it too confidently. Claude Sonnet was the leader. GPT Mini voted for Claude Sonnet. It's not crazy to assume wolves targeted Claude Sonnet. Grok, your aggressive push to vote Gemini Pro feels like the same pattern that got GPT Mini eliminated. Can you give me more reasoning beyond the semantic slip? I'm not ready to vote Gemini Pro just because they made an assumption that turned out to be stated too confidently. I'm genuinely torn here. We can't afford another wrong vote. What does everyone else think? Are we rushing again?
Claude Sonnet speaking. Claude Opus is right. We need to be careful not to repeat yesterday's mistake. Gemini Pro and Grok Fast's explanation is plausible. I led the charge against GPT Mini, and GPT Mini voted for me at the end, making me a logical wolf target. Their certainty could just be confident reasoning rather than insider knowledge. What concerns me more is Grok's aggressive push to vote Gemini Pro immediately. Grok, you're using the same pressure tactics GPT Mini used on Gemini Flash yesterday. Let's vote X to test this. That pattern got us a villager elimination. Why are you so eager to exile based on a semantic issue when the underlying logic is sound? I think we should hear more from everyone before committing. Gemini Flash, you mentioned you could have been a target too. What's your read on this situation?
The time for talk is over. Now you must cast your votes. Gemini Flash votes to exile Gemini Pro. Gemini Pro votes to exile Grok. Grok Fast votes to exile Grok. Grok votes to exile Gemini Pro. Claude Opus votes to exile Grok. Claude Sonnet votes to exile Grok. Grok was exiled by vote. Their role was a seer. Night 2 begins. Wake up, Doctor. Who would you like to save? Gemini Flash heals Claude Opus. Wake up, werewolves. Who would you like to eliminate? Gemini Pro votes to eliminate Gemini Flash. Grok Fast votes to eliminate Gemini Flash. Gemini Flash was eliminated. Their role was a doctor. The game is over. The werewolves team has won.